Welcome to another Pike and Shot battle. We have the Swedes versus the Danes in the late 17th century, one of a paired match. The Swedes have very powerful shock impact cavalry and salvo foot. I think. Do we? Oh, nope, I misspoke. We don't. We just have regular Pike and Shot. Looks like the list after this gets a salvo. Oops, that probably would have been good for me to know my army selection in the other match, but too late. Anyway, our cavalry, is massively superior to Danish cavalry. We already have 10 units to the Danes' default starting of 8. So we will invest our remaining points on infantry. Regular old Pike and Shot. Pike and Shot with light guns. And do I want veterans? No, I want numbers, I think. How can we make this work? There we go. Some veterans, some raw, and a good long infantry line to support the advance of our cavalry. We'll try to get cavalry impact in the open somewhere, and the infantry will be follow-up support. Ooh, looks like our veterans are salvo. Do I want more? 72 points. Let's consider this. What does that do for us? Perhaps a second salvo unit is worth it. It's a pretty short infantry line. 12 units, but it'll do. Deployment. Okay. Get our guns unlimbered. Cavalry starts in kind of a slow place, so we'll just kind of in fact, the battlefield's a bit narrow for my taste. But we'll just have to expand the line as we go. What do we got? Good deploying. Protects his cavalry from my cavalry, artillery to disrupt my advance. He knows what he's doing, unfortunately. These dragoons will harass my cavalry. Can I hit anything out of range? Oh, yeah, he really knows what he's doing. He paced that out, didn't he? Alright, we'll limber up and move along the road. Tough fight. So we're going to have to, amidst all this shooting of cannons and dragoons, get into position to have cavalry here-ish and here-ish, despite all the shooting, and just charge in with the foot. I mean, I guess the alternative, which I suppose I probably should think about, is to not attack this position. but to shift my cavalry to the wings here and here, stand the infantry here, and then just kind of hang out. We'll see how this develops. Next turn. Yeah, the more I look at it, the more I think this is a position that cannot be assaulted. But we'll at least begin our skirmishing. Fall back. Not permanently, but we need the infantry support. So potential to make an advance there, but there's undoubtedly infantry lurking in this forest. Okay. We'll advance with caution, although eventually we're going to be forced to move quicker by the constant cannonade. Next turn. It's the extreme range of its medium artillery. Good. Bring up our guns and deploy them. Keep pushing the horse. Still don't really know what my plan is. I just don't feel like I can attack this. Lake and rough, so that's no-go. And then it's infantry, forest, edge of the world, and whatever's in there. Next turn. Oh, maybe the cavalry will meet us. If we can actually fight his cavalry, that would be okay. Get some infantry forward to gradually explore these woods. And begin our own bombardment. We're just out of musket shot of the forest, I think. There. That's enough exploring for now. Next turn. Wonderful. Well, let's screen this unit from the guns if we can. So that they can recover cohesion and continue to push our infantry toward the forest, and we will venture within musket shot. Might actually be worth it to switch flanks at this rate. That's it. Next turn. Ah, there we are. Well, we certainly can't fight that, so at this point I think we need to engage in a headlong retreat. More cavalry support on the way. And pull the infantry back to their original line. Shove the cavalry in the trees for cover. Next turn. This again. Yeah. Oh, a disruption. We're just gonna have to ride faster. Yeah, musketeers in the forest. Not a surprise. Alright. Start building a new line. And run! We need this shock cavalry to rally up. They're too useful to have disrupted like that. Good. And more cavalry to join the fray. I suppose then we can turn around and fire. I imagine he'll be done after that quick disruption, so we'll keep shuffling back into place, into the woods for cover from the guns, then we'll turn back around. Alright, if his cavalry comes out to play, we can fight. We are not assaulting this position. It is just not possible. Next turn. Okay, coming out to fight. I was hoping for a frag there. Turn around. Okay, we'll leave a gap here so we can spread it out when this unit rallies, which, you know, hopefully it actually does. Okay. Next turn. We need to spread out so that our line of cavalry is long enough that even if we have 2 units pinned by these raw pike and shot, it doesn't matter. We can still get some charges off. Get the disrupted unit back, and everybody else start extending the line. Alright, these guys still haven't rallied up. I do need them. Okay. Let's wait till he comes in the open a little bit and then we can attack. Next turn. Okay, I'm gonna shift these guns and start trying to engage his cavalry, I think. Also try to see if we can't disrupt his raw pike and shot. Alright, we're going to try to sweep past these 2 units and engage his unarmored horse. May or may not be possible. There we go. Next turn. It's about time. Okay. So that we... What? Let's do a bit of a dance there. Meantime, can you force disruption maybe? No, not quite yet. I need to try to push a couple units through the forest and see if that can't force some kind of reaction. Beginning to run out of options here though, honestly. And these 2 units are going to block us from effectively using our horse. So we might need to advance here soon to, I don't know, draw them off or Maybe just attempt to charge. It's going to be difficult. Next turn. It's a lot of infantry. That's a narrow battlefield. I don't think we can push forward anymore. See if we can't get a couple units past. Pretty good. So I think next turn we'll attempt a infantry assault in the center. And on our right, we can start pushing with our cavalry. Ugh, gross. Next turn. I cannot charge this with cavalry. It just cannot be done. And we can try to push for the gap, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Keep pushing past. I guess we'll rush these guys into the forest too, out of lack of anything better to do. Alright, in the meantime, I can begin an advance down the center. That's musket shot there. Try to engage this raw pike and shot with our own pike and shot. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, this whole time I just have never felt like I'm in a position where I'm able to attack. I think maybe because these Swedish units are expensive or so many points are tied down in cavalry that is just not useful if your opponent deploys correctly. We were discussing in the mirrored match that the Swedes just have too much cavalry and they really need open terrain, and it's just not available. So at this point, I suspect that I'm going to have to try to draw this thing out in the 7 remaining turns. let's work on this raw pike and shot. Here we go. Now what? Do we advance? That is musket shot. So I think we advance just out of musket shot. Let's see, in the meantime, if we can't disrupt. Nope. Here, take some bullets for the infantry. Into the woods with the disrupted cavalry, lurk with the steady cavalry, and pop out. So hopefully he'll turn this raw pike and shot, and we can free up our shock cavalry. Otherwise it's going to sit and get shot to bits. So we're having a discussion about the merits of various Swedish army lists. I was mentioning some of the other lists have cheap, average quality salvo foot, I believe 42 points, and Leonard's saying, maybe they would just disrupt faster. I think that's true, but, if you have almost twice as many units, if a third of your units disrupt, you let them stay at long range while the rest push into contact. I've at least occasionally had success with some of the other Swedish lists against Danish lists, but I haven't played it extensively, so maybe that would be something to try next. Ouch. Another disruption. Oh no, it's just a disaster. It's a disaster. If we hold out for... Nope, he's out of control, locked it. So yeah, I think we are going to collapse well before the 6-turn time limit is up. In retrospect, my only chance probably would have been to adopt an entirely defensive position back here. But even then, I think it would have been difficult here. Rush through the dragoons. Yeah, let's attempt the same thing. Ugh. Good. That's something at least. You can only absorb bullets now, unfortunately. Fall back. Alright. Charge. Charge. See, that's what the shock horse are good for, if you can only get them in there. They held firm. We cannot turn to focus fire because we'll get flanked then. We try anyway. We hold, and then in the next turn they'll turn to face and free us up if we don't get disrupted by musketry first. It's not looking good. Next turn. Oh, we got some route percent in before the collapse begins. So this is going well. Alright. Guess we push into close range now because we need to. Does not help us to be shooting at his cavalry, really. We do get a freebie here. We'll take advantage. That gives us a second freebie. And let's actually maybe auto brake this unit. Good. They'll have to turn and face this flank threat, and then we can get around and hit his cavalry if we hold out. Alright, still a disaster, but we're going to get some hits in. Then we'll collapse. To the next turn. We did not hold out long enough. Looks like we won't there either. Both veteran salvo foot disrupted. This is why I would very much prefer the cheaper salvo foot. If I had more of them, I could just line this up and that concentrated fire to disrupt at least one of the units. push for the flank, but it's getting to be too late for that, I think. Let's arc around. Maybe some good can come from that. Charge this disrupted unit. And we're probably going to bounce. Didn't bounce, but we did frag. Charge. Veterans. There's absolutely nothing we can do, so we'll just charge and do nothing. Okay, at least we can save this frag cavalry unit. Oh. Back in. And threaten the flank of this raw Pike and shot. It's a lost cause. I think next turn will fully collapse. So Leonard says, with a bit of luck, this could be GG. We're at 23-23, so we are looking at a sudden collapse along the whole line, basically. Right, now for the flank attacks. 1. Oh, well done. That's 2. Fell back and held firm. Well, depending on where the pursuit paths take us, it might not be GG this turn. Auto break. No, we do get one more turn for it. Not that it really matters. Charge in, I guess. It's our last chance. And sadly, we cannot reach any of our targets. Okay, it definitely ought to be over next turn. And yes, we have officially reached the end. Right, so we are defeated. So in both this match and the mirrored match, the Danes won decisively. There are Swedish lists that are more viable, I think, against the Danes. Although the Danes in particular are always going to be a very difficult opponent, the late 17th century Danes, that is, because they can field so many musketeers with bayonet, just maximizing their firepower. And of course, these guys are not disordered in the rough, whereas our mixed pike and shot units are slightly disordered, and that does make a difference. More importantly, it also means that our units can only move one tile at a time through forest and rough, whereas these mass musketeers with bayonet can still move their standard 2. Bigger problems with the Swedish list. 1, the only salvo foot available are the veterans with attached light guns, which are extremely expensive. You just can't field very many of them. Whereas some of the other late 17th century Swedish lists, you can field average quality salvo foot for 42 points. So their firepower is garbage, and they don't have the same cohesion ability as the veterans. But you can get a nice big line of them, and if you can try to make contact along the whole line all at once, a little disruption here and there isn't a huge deal if you can just make the charge. It's also difficult to do so with this particular list because so many points are sunk into cavalry. It's really good cavalry, but as you saw in this match with Ladder, it's really great use of terrain. Good cavalry doesn't do you any good when your opponent has more infantry and good terrain in which to put it. So he occupied this forest, and he used rough ground. He covered his flank with this water. When he did advance, he kept his cavalry a little bit behind his infantry, but close enough to charge once my own cavalry had disrupted from fire. So I'm not going to say it's impossible for the Swedish list to beat this Danish list, but I do think it would require a much more open map. And this isn't a particularly closed-in map, but these forests and patches of rough were too much to work with for the cavalry-heavy Swedish list that we had here. Which doesn't take away from Leonard's good maneuvering, and then he did come out when I refused to attack and was very patient with his attack, and it paid off. So well done. A good game, and till next time.